Roethlisberger case, but she has been following it very closely for us. She's here to talk about it. And BJ, you actually continued to listen to the rest of the press conference while we moved on with the day's news. So I really want your impressions. There's a lot of takeaway from it, down to the fact he said that there wasn't enough DNA evidence to get a sample from, to the fact that the young woman a few days ago said, I don't want to move forward. Just tell me, what were your initial impressions of what you heard?
Well, clearly they just didn't feel like they have a case at all, no probable cause even to arrest. And what he said was, it's very interesting that a lot of the information that we've been seeing in a lot of these blogs have not been true. First, most importantly, was it wasn't the young woman who complained of rape initially. What happened is, according to District Attorney Fred Bright, she had gone into when she came out of the small, dingy bathroom
at this nightclub,
that her sorority sisters were with her, thinking she's way too drunk to have been back there with him. And then they talked to the police, and then the police asked her in her very drunk condition, did he rape you? And her response was no. And then she made another statement, and she said, I don't know if it was a good idea. He said okay, and then we had sex. So there's some definite difference of, and then she went to the hospital and again wasn't clear whether she thought she had been raped. Then 12 to 13 hours later, when she was sober, she said, I told him it wasn't okay. I proceeded to leave. I went first to the door, but he followed. I said no, and we had sex, and he said it was okay. So that was a different statement from her intoxicated state to 13 hours later. The other interesting part here is Fred Bright did mention that there was a superficial laceration found at the hospital.
And he said some bruising as well.
Well, a superficial laceration in the genital area. He did not see any bruising in the head, and in fact, Ben Roethlisberger did make a brief statement that night where he did remember her, said that she followed him into the bathroom, and that
she fell or something to that nature.
She fell and that she may have injured her head. The hospital didn't find injury to the head.
Okay.
The reason why this is important, because your viewers are first saying is, well, if they found something at the hospital, then there may be, why aren't they proceeding? And that's because just because you have a laceration of some sort, that can happen also from consensual sexual conduct. So it's not necessarily enough proof of force, which is required under Georgia law.
Okay, and during this investigation, clearly they spoke with her. They never actually spoke with Ben Roethlisberger, which your first impression is, how do you not speak to someone who's accused of sexual assault during an investigation? But you've been saying all along that's actually not abnormal. At what point can you compel an accused person to speak to police during an investigation like this?
Never. Because it's our constitutional right. We have the right to remain silent. It's what we hear in the movies, are Miranda warnings, and they're important warnings because of this, is you may misspeak or say something and create a case that may not be there. And here you have someone who, and again, I think I mentioned, it's not that you can't be sexually assaulted when you're intoxicated, but when you drink a lot, male or female, whoever you are, particularly binge drinking, you are a witness to a crime. How can you possibly
BJ, I gotta tell you, for people that are watching now, in particular women, there are women that are saying that the alcohol should not have any, and I'm not saying that Ben did anything here, but I think that when the DA started to point out the fact that she'd been drinking, et cetera, I think that puts some women on the defensive to say, wait a minute, just because she was drinking, that does not mean she could not have been raped.
And I agree with you, but the difference is this, and this is a reality that we have to talk to all of our young people, and actually adults, which
let's
is
do this.
Men or women, when you drink a lot and you drink to excess, you can't drive, you can't make decisions. When we laugh that, oh, I blacked out last night, I can't remember what happened. You're putting yourself in danger from someone who may be a predator. And we have a responsibility for ourselves, and we've got to, because the first thing you learn in self-defense classes for sexual assault is be aware of your surroundings, beware of yourself. Or God forbid, I think back to Natalie Holloway. She was at a bar, she was late at night, her friends saw her get into that car. It's not that that child ever deserved anything wrong to happen to her, but we have to take responsibility as women, and we have to teach our young men also. Don't get so drunk that you don't know what you're doing, that any sexual act should be in a loving, appropriate situation and not where you're putting yourself at peril.
All right, and just to wrap it up, because we're about out of time, the DA said, I don't prosecute based on morals, because he did say there was some questionable questionable behavior that night, no matter what. But Ben Roethlisberger will not be charged. BJ, thank you very much, and thanks for continuing to watch the press conference to get all the information for us.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.